Hello and welcome to HITC Sport. Today I want you to imagine something. Your best player lining up for your biggest rivals. It's not a pretty sight, is it? Well, in some cases, that could have been reality. Here is one player from every Premier League club who could have signed for your biggest rivals first. TIERNEY to Tottenham. In the summer of 2019, Arsenal spent big money to sign TIERNEY from Celtic, back when he was touted as one of the biggest left-back prospects in Europe. However, things haven't really worked out for him so far at the Emirates, with injuries ruining his first season in England. But might things have been different if the Scottish international had joined Tottenham instead? Well, a year prior to his Arsenal move, Spurs were reportedly keen on Tierney, eyeing a bargain deal following Celtic's Champions League exit in August 2018. The deal didn't happen, but would Tierney have been better off at Spurs? Under Pochettino he could have flourished like so many others, but alas, Arsenal fans will have to pray that Mikel Arteta can prize the potential out of him instead. HENRI LANSBURY to Birmingham. While there was that one Birmingham fan who wanted to get a bit too close to Jack Grealish not too long ago, finding current Villa players who were once Birmingham targets proved quite difficult. And then HENRI LANSBURY happened, you know, the lad who can barely get a game in the Premier League at Villa Park. He joined for Nottingham Forest following Villa's relegation at the Championship in January 2017, but in that same month he could have been a Birmingham player. The local press reported in December 2016 that Gianfranco Zola wanted Lansbury at St Andrews, but just a month later it was a claret and blue shirt that Lansbury was holding up instead. Is this the reason why Villa are in the Premier League now and Birmingham aren't? No, I don't think it is, of course it isn't. Harry Wilson to Southampton. The Welsh international has been one of Bournemouth's best players this season, with his free kicks proving to be something of a secret weapon. Then again, Man United fans knew all about it, didn't they? Bournemouth got a real coup when they signed Wilson, but he could very easily have been a Southampton player instead. In the same summer, the Saints were heavily linked with a permanent move for Wilson, but his £25 million price tag proved to be too much. Then Bournemouth came out of absolutely nowhere and stashed him away on loan, despite Liverpool saying they would only sell him. Maybe the Reds felt bad for them because of the whole Dominic Solanke thing. MAUPAYO to Crystal Palace. The Brighton and Crystal Palace rivalry is a weird one that I'm not even going to get into, but last summer they were both fighting for a striker before fighting for bragging rights on the pitch. Brighton spent more than £20 million to sign MAUPAYO from Brentford after the Frenchman scored for fun in the Championship. That's why so many Premier League clubs wanted him, including Crystal Palace. The Eagles have got a lot of issues up front, Christian Benteke, and MAUPAYO certainly would have fixed them, making his goal at Selhurst Park sting even more. BARDSLEY to Blackburn Rovers. Finding some for this one was quite hard, but in the deep dark depths of the internet there were murmurs that once upon a time Blackburn were interested in signing BARDSLEY on a couple of occasions, when he was a Man United player and then again when he was at Sunderland. But there isn't a lot more information out there, so maybe don't hang your hat on this one. WILLIAN to Tottenham. Willian's contract at Chelsea is set to expire this summer, and there's a lot of chat that he could become a Tottenham player. But it could have happened 7 years ago had things gone differently. The Brazilian was looking for a way out of MCCARTHY and underwent a medical with Spurs in August 2013 ahead of a £30 million move. He would have been a major signing and could have been the focal point of the new Gareth Bale Spurs side. But then a couple of days later, Chelsea came in, snatched him away, took him to Stamford Bridge, and Willian went on to win 2 league titles, an FA Cup, a League Cup and a Europa League. MCCARTHY to Brighton. Okay, this is similar to the Bardsley one, as there's not a lot of stuff out there. But back in 2018, the Sunday People claimed that Brighton were one of 3 Premier League clubs interested in signing Everton's James McCarthy. But I mean, around that time, pretty much every top flight club wanted the Irish international. In the end, it was Palace who got him, although I don't think they can claim they got one over the rivals here. GYLFI Sigurdsson to Liverpool. In 2017, Everton made GYLFI Sigurdsson their record signing for £45 million. But 5 years earlier, it seemed all but certain he was going to join a different Merseyside club. The Icelandic superstar had impressed at Swansea on loan, and with Brendan Rodgers moving to Liverpool that summer, he was keen to bring Sigurdsson with him. In the end though, he'd become a Tottenham player, a move that was a little bit of a disaster in hindsight. As for Rodgers, he had to settle for signing Joe Allen instead. Ryan Bennett at Nottingham Forest. Leicester's biggest rivals are Forest, but these two clubs haven't crossed paths a lot in recent years, on account of Leicester winning the title and playing in the Champions League, and Forest just sitting there in the Championship collecting dust. But one Foxes player who could have joined Forest first is Ryan Bennett. Yeah, I bet that one stings, doesn't it? The defender was a target for Forest back when he was a Norwich player, before he got the chance to save his career with Nuno at Wolves. Georginio Wijnaldum to Everton. Georginio Wijnaldum's had a weird little career in England. He scored a load of goals for Newcastle but then got relegated, yet he still got to move to Liverpool where he developed into a workhorse midfielder and a key player under Jurgen Klopp, and of course who can forget the goals against Barcelona. But back when he joined Newcastle in 2015, the Dutchman was also a target for the Toffees. Just think how different things would have been if Wijnaldum had joined Everton instead. It might have been Everton who went down that season. Okay, probably not. Sergio Aguero to Manchester United. Just think about it. What if Sergio Aguero was a Manchester United player? There'd have been no last gasp title winner back in 2012, that's for sure. While Aguero was Man City's record scorer, he was heavily linked with the red side of Manchester in 2009. The Red Devils wanted a replacement for Cristiano Ronaldo, and a man dubbed the new Maradona was being lined up. Sadly for them, Aguero remained with Atletico, and he would go on to become a City legend who still found out what it was like to score at Old Trafford. Fred to Manchester City. Back in 2018, Fred had a choice, Man United or Man City. And you might have to wonder to yourself, why on earth was City even interested? If you look at Fred's Premier League career, it's hardly been a stellar one, as long as you ignore his most recent form before the Premier League was suspended. But would he have had more luck in a City shirt? Could he have been the Fernandinho replacement that Pep craved? Who knows, but thank goodness for Fred that he started to improve, otherwise this decision might have haunted him forever. Andy Carroll to Sunderland. Okay, for this one you have to ignore the fact that Carroll had actually played for Newcastle before, but that's okay. Anyway, to put it simply, Sam Allardyce is a brave man. In 2015 he was the Sunderland manager, an ex-Newcastle manager as well, and he wanted to make Geordie hero Andy Carroll his first signing at the Stadium of Light. I mean, I can't see any way that would have worked. Forget the whole Josh Madger thing, this would have been must-see on Netflix. Kenny McLean to Ipswich Town. I'll be honest here, I didn't think I was ever going to find a current Norwich player who was one to target for Ipswich, as I don't think they do a lot of shopping in Germany. But God bless Kenny McLean. The Norwich midfielder is probably best known this season for scoring that famous win against Man City, but how different would things have been if he'd swapped St Mirren for Ipswich back in 2013? Honestly, these are the kind of questions that keep me up at night. Billy Sharp to Sheffield Wednesday. If Andy Carroll in a Sunderland shirt sounded weird, Billy Sharp in a Sheffield Wednesday jersey doesn't bear thinking about. But in a recent interview, Sharp has admitted that he actually held talks with the Owls about moving to Hillsborough back in 2007. He'd been sold by the Blades 2 years earlier, and joining their biggest rivals would have been a massive middle finger up to his boyhood club. In the end he returned to Bramall Lane, but just the thought of Sharp playing in blue and white is enough to knock any Blades fan sick. James Ward-Prowse to Portsmouth. To me, James Ward-Prowse seems Southampton through and through. He'll do anything for the club that he's been with ever since he was little. But he's actually a Portsmouth lad, supported them as a kid, and actually could have signed for them instead. But the midfielder ruled with his head over his heart and chose Southampton, a decision I'm pretty sure he doesn't regret. Jan Vertonghen to Arsenal. This summer could see the end of Jan Vertonghen in a Spurs shirt, with his contract in North London set to expire. Wherever he goes you'll remember as a top class defender in the Premier League, but could the same be said if he joined Arsenal instead in 2012? The Belgian actually had offers from both North London clubs, but he opted to sign for Spurs instead. Would Vertonghen have had the same success at Arsenal and perhaps been the answer to a somewhat problematic defence? Or would he have just got a case of the Mustafis and just crumbled into mush as soon as he donned the red of Arsenal? Andre Gray to Luton Town. I'll be honest lads, couldn't find a single player in this Watford team that Luton wanted first. The only option I've got is Andre Gray, and he actually played for Luton. It's where he got his big break. Damn you Watford for not having bigger rivals. Let's just move on, wash our hands with this one. Mikel Antonio to Millwall. While Millwall and West Ham don't often meet, they're still huge rivals. I could have copped out and picked Tottenham, but I actually found a current hammer who could have joined Millwall, and his name is Mikel Antonio. You know that, I said it in the intro. The wingers had an interesting career that saw him climb through the divisions, and one club that wanted to sign him was Millwall. Antonio's admitted that back in the day he was actually offered a trial by Millwall, so maybe things would have been different if he'd actually signed for them. West Ham probably would have thought twice about signing him, that's for sure. And finally, Raul Jimenez to West Brom. Raul Jimenez has been a superstar for Wolves and proved a lot of people wrong, including myself. Their biggest rivals West Brom can only dream of having players like him right now, but then again, they were actually linked with the Mexican not too long ago. In 2017, a Portuguese news outlet claimed that West Brom were one of many English clubs in talks about signing Jimenez, but 1 year later he would join Wolves, West Brom went down, and the footballing landscape changed in the West Midlands forever. So that's one current Premier League player who could have signed for your biggest rivals first. Let us know what you think in the comments below. As always, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to HITC Sport. You can follow me on Twitter, I'm at HITCJames. But until next time, we'll see you around. And make sure you stay alert, okay? What, you don't know what that means? Idiots. God, it's easy. Just stay alert. Be alert. Watch what you're doing. Stay alert. Are you alert? Make sure you're alert.